The handstand is without a doubt the most popular movement in calisthenics. Everybody has tried to do a handstand once in their life through a kick-up. They can try and fail, and in trying they get the grasp of the difficulty of a handstand, which only makes them admire the movement more. In a way, you can only know the true difficulty of things you have tried doing. However, what is the first method that people come up with when trying to get to the handstand position, the kick-up to handstand? The kick-up to handstand is simply jumping to a handstand position. You can do it with both legs or just one. Everybody can use their legs to jump, and because everybody can do it, it becomes the most popular way to get to the handstand position. And so when you see handstand tutorials, you will always see the kick up to handstand, because who is going to watch a tutorial if they can not even follow the tutorial itself? However, in my handstand journey, the kick up was always unreliable. It was insanely frustrating, always jumping, my legs going forward. Because I kick up too much or too little, the momentum of the kick up will always mess up my tries, which inevitably will make me want to try more. In turn, this will cause me to tire myself more, and being tired just made my tries worse and frustrate me more. It was a vicious cycle. But everything changed when I found the bent arm handstand press. When you do a bent arm handstand press, in a way you are going back to square one. You become a baby that doesn't know how to walk. When you see a baby trying to walk, it first crawls using its legs and arms. And maybe it crawls because it doesn't have the strength and ability to stand up with its legs. However, why don't babies kick up with their arms to a standing position? This is a ridiculous question, but if they hypothetically had the shoulder, chest, and arm strength to create an impulse to a standing position, will they do it to learn to stand up? Whether the answer is yes or no, when we see babies trying to take their first steps or learning to stand up, they actually do it through first learning a squat position, slowly going up, performing a squat that inevitably leads them to standing up. If they do it too fast, it is harder to control and they fall. In a way, you can think of it this way. You first need to hold the squat position first before a standing position. Of course, some babies get more help from their parents, others use a lot of their environment as support, but no babies are doing arm kick-ups to handstands. If you think about it, you can see the bent arm handstand press as the equivalent of the concentric part of a squat. Similarly like a squat, since babies don't have sedentarism and mobility issues, a squat is actually an easier movement to balance than standing up, thanks to levers. There is weight on both sides and the center of gravity is in the middle, so holding a squat should be easier in terms of balance. Through that position, they also get to develop their legs, lower back extensors, abs, and feet muscles. If you are also in the bottom position of a bent arm handstand press, the dynamic is very similar. Holding balance is easier thanks to levers. Once in the squat or bent arm handstand press position, then the next step is to slowly push until you get to the standing position. The key word here is slowly, as a fast tempo can create a chain reaction that inevitably makes you lose balance. For example, your legs may lean too forward, which forces you to use too much strength on your finger flexors to counteract the forward of the legs, which inevitably messes up your balance. The faster, the harder to control, and I think this is the biggest difference between the kick up to handstand and the bent arm handstand press. The bent arm handstand press allows you to slowly go up. By simply going slower, the chance of a chain reaction that messes up your balance is way slower, because you can focus and have more time to redirect any mistake. Personally, I owe all my balance to the bent arm handstand press. Of course, the issue with learning a handstand through a bent arm handstand press is the need for strength, and I think this is the biggest issue. Compared to the kick up, it is not accessible. However, if you plan to learn the handstand, I will say that getting the strength necessary is a great investment. Now, with this video, I don't want to completely talk shit about the kick up to handstand, because some people do learn the handstand with a kick up. But if when we are babies, our bodies intuitively learn to stand up through first learning to execute a squat, wouldn't it be learning the bent arm handstand press the equivalent of that? The bent arm handstand press, I will say, is less popular and unknown than the kick up to handstand, and it will be great for it to be more popular, because babies can teach us how to handstand.